Fellow Kenyans, good morning, good evening, good afternoon on this important day of October 2019. I will be giving you a series of videos every week starting today under the banner of Kenya Revolutionary Front. A lot of Kenyans, mostly the ignorant ones, have been running around trying to celebrate Moi Day, which the Constitution of Kenya 2010 banned, and which despots like Uhuru Kenyatta and Matiang'i have come up with so that they can continue to hypnotize the country with lies, propaganda, and confusion. Moi represents everything wrong and bad about Kenya. Moi is a symbol of plunder, looting, land grabbing, one-party dictatorship, tyranny, and all the egregious human rights abuses that our country have experienced for the last 56 years. A lot of Kenyans need to be reminded that the so-called hoax, peaceful Kenya, is a propaganda that was created and cemented by the media in order to mislead Kenyans of what Moi represents. For 24 years, Moi made Kenya a de jure, by law, one-party state. He detained political critics. He tortured political critics at Nyayo House, including yours truly, in the 1980s and 1990s. He assassinated political opponents such as Dr. Robert Ouko. He executed Father Kaiser and Alexander Muge and many others. Moi represents the rot in Kenya, introduced ineptitude, incompetence, and mediocrity as the symbols of the nation Kenya. He banned critical revolutionary books from universities and chased away progressive thinkers. He created a society where mediocrity is the foundation of being hired into positions or into public office. And he ensured that people who are critical, who are creative, who are innovative, who are resourceful are fired and do not find any place in public office in the Republic of Kenya. Moi found thriving parastatals in the country and grabbed and destroyed all of them. He turned Kenya into one parrotry, a country where people sang about one man as if he was God. Moi was ill-qualified to be a leader and was not a leader. The only way and the only reason why Moi stayed in power for 24 years was because the Cold War essentially compelled the West to put him there as a gatekeeper for the imperial interests. He is at the same league of Mobutu Sese Seko, Bokassa, Idi Amin, Samuel Doe, Sani Abacha. Anybody who celebrates Moi and Moi Day is a retrograde, is a person who is a reactionary who does not understand what liberation is, what freedom means, what dignity means, what human rights means, what lawfulness or being lawful means, what respect for democracy means. Moi represents everything horrible about our country. To be able to rid ourselves of this legacy of incompetence, the legacy of tribalism, the legacy of cronyism, the legacy of propelling the worst tendencies and celebrating them as our best achievements, we must turn back and rebuild Kenya, transform Kenya through a revolution. It's a simple thing. You mobilize your neighbors, you mobilize your colleagues, you mobilize your friends, you mobilize your family members and relatives, and you demonstrate against this legacy of cronyism, ineptitude, and incompetence. That is what you celebrate. For more than 50 years, we have had a system where creativity is punished, where innovation is stigmatized, where intelligence is shunned, where the only thing people worship is money. Money is not a value and is not a virtue. Honesty is, hard work is, productivity is, creativity is, innovation is, resourcefulness is, love is. But these cannot coexist with brutality, torture, murder, election fraud, and grabbing of public land and resources, the plunder that we have seen. When I was a young man at the University of Nairobi in 1987, we had public toilets in Nairobi. Those Moi grabbed. We had a public transit system, a functioning railway system, a national railway system. We had Kenya bus services. Kenya Creameries Corporation, which produced milk, KCC, was a thriving business. They destroyed these and public institutions such as schools and universities so that they could privatize everything, so that they could give their friends and relatives these public facilities to create artificial wealth for themselves. And when they did that, at the same time, they created millions, tens of millions of poor people. So the more poor Kenyans have become, the sharper the division between the rich and the poor, the more a tiny group of people who are ill-qualified even to run villages became billionaires. But their billions are stashed in Europe and North America and other foreign jurisdictions. They don't invest the stolen wealth in Africa. They don't build schools and universities. They don't allow people with organic minds to thrive. Because if you do that, if you empower the people, then the people will demand the next thing that they are entitled to, that they have a right to, which is dignity, which is freedom. And a poor person will think of food. So they create poverty, and they create starvation, and they create food insecurity so that you can just worship them. You worship less than 500 people out of a population of 56 or 55 million. And when you look at the upper echelons of leadership, the most unqualified preside over public office. By qualification, I don't mean rote, Western, literal school education. Education is not learning. It is the holistic ability to appreciate the environment around you and to have insight, critical insight of what is happening around you. Kenyans wake up and throw the shackles of slavery that the West, the imperialist West, have imposed on us, whereas they have been trying to tell us that revolution will bring bloodshed. We have bled to death. Rivers of blood have flowed as a result of these so-called peaceful leaders like Moi. They have not created anything. In the 1970s, Kenya was more developed than Malaysia and Singapore and Hong Kong. 50 years later, they are first worlds and we are a fifth world. Viva